Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Adam Rieger, and we're going to tie the Ray Bergman namesake fly from Trout, his classic book from the 30s. And there you go. It's the Ray Bergman. It's surrounded by the professor and some great flies. The hook we're going to use is a Mustad, $33.99. I'm using a size 6 just because it's bigger and a little easier to see when you do a video. Uni 6/0 white. You could start with black, so because you're going to end up with needing to switch thread to have a black head. It's a yarn body, wool body. So I don't know that you really got to worry about color, of the thread below it passing through. But anyway, here we go. I'm starting with white. I tie back to about the hook point, cut the tag. I use the tag to help me. And then I cover up the tag with a few wraps to finish off the shank. The tail is Mallard flank. I'm just pulling them out to do my best to align the tips before I peel it off the feather. And sizing up, you want it to be about the size of the body. So moving that point, pinch and loop, tie it on, couple tighter wraps to really hold it on top, and then take a look. If you don't like it, you can always go back at this point. Good enough for me. A couple other securing wraps. And now I'm gonna use that waist side of the feather to build a little fatter body. So I cut it off at a slight angle to help with the taper. Collecting wraps as you go up, back off the tension. Do this a little looser. It won't cause anything to flare or go crazy on you. A little bit easier to wrap up. I'm speeding up this process here. You don't need to see me do a lot of wrapping. I don't actually wrap this quickly. Just making it fast. So we're going to head back to about halfway, and I'm going to tie in some yarn. That's Uni, rust orange yarn. You could use another yarn. You could use a craft yarn. You could use dubbing if you wanted. It doesn't have to be wool. I was going to tie it in the quick way, but I wanted to show you that these spooled type materials, this is the easy way to tie it in. You slide it up, put your finger over it, grab the bobbin, recreate tension to hold it in place, slide it to where you want it, and then wrap. That's the proper way, to do it efficiently. A lot of people just tie it in like I almost did, just really quickly. But I decided to not do that, to come back and show you that move. So I'm just wrapping it all. I wrap back to see where I like it to begin, and then up towards the head. And now we're just going to wrap. The nice thing about yarn is it's pretty easy to make the shaped body you want. So here we kind of want a football shape, fatter in the middle. One way to, the tighter you pull on the yarn, the thinner it gets, so you can get it thin. The less tension you put on it, it puffs up. And then obviously you can wrap several times in the same place or back over to make it a little thicker. So that's the idea here. I'm now in that middle portion of the body, so I'm trying to make it a little bit thicker here. You can see me going over where I've already wrapped, just to kind of help with that football shape, which is kind of the classic Bergman wet fly shape. And now coming back down in the taper, so it's more touching turns, slowly pulling the yarn a little bit tighter to make it thinner, to create that taper down to near the head. So just a collecting wrap there. Now we're going to crank on it. with a wrap or two, make it nice and tight, and then you can cut off that yarn. Normally you'd switch to black thread here. I got so excited I forgot, so I'm going to tie on the throat with the white thread. So that's Schlappen. I think traditionally you use a hen and wrap it on. I didn't have any brown hen, so I'm going to use this Schlappen. So I just kind of flare out the sections I want on either side, and then kind of grip the feather, pinch it, and fold them on each other to align the tips. Pass it to the measuring hand, pass it to the other hand. Now you already have the thread down, so it's just an up into the thumb there to pinch it, and then crank up on it. And then another one just to crank up on it. I'm going to do 2 here before I let go with my fingers. Oh, maybe 3. And then just take a look. Now you can adjust it. If you have to sort of, when you hold your hand, pivot it away from you, because the crank up is going to torque it back towards you. Just takes a little practice, but you can always, of course, adjust it. Even with a little practice, I messed it up, so I had to adjust it a little bit there. And then you lock it in shape. I have a rotary vise, so I flip it over to do the cutting off of the excess here. This way the thread is hanging out of the way, and I don't have to worry about cutting it and screwing everything up. And I can get in there nice and clean. So now we're going to just flatten off this area here and cover up those butts, and then get that black thread in. Again, normally you'd put the black thread in before you tie the throat, but I kind of got a little excited there. So here I'm tying in the thread at the head, at the eye of the hook, and I'm winding back over the white, and now I'm grabbing the white and the black tag and using it both kind of as a tag as I head back towards the bend of the hook, just to cover up everything and lock it in place. And then now I can cut it off. And you want to cut it off before you go all the way back. That way if there's any tag there from the cut, a little bit, now I'm wrapping over it and covering it up. So I'm getting that black thread as best I can back to that exact lineup tie-in for the throat there. And now the wing is gray quill slips. So I'm using duck here. There's a lot of arguments about whether they should the slips should face into each other or out. Don Bastian, who is a master of wet flies and done a ton of research, he's 100% confident that they have to flare out. Gives more action to the fly, fishes much better. So that's what I'm doing there. Aesthetically, people might prefer another way, but he's pretty confident that the appropriate way to do it is so that they flare out. So just measure it so that the ends of those wings come to about halfway up the tail. Again, you can sort of see here they're flaring out, getting it as straight as I can on top of the hook, aligned with the hook. That's the idea. I'm just doing a little tweaking here, playing with it. It's a pinch and loop to grab them, then use the gravity of the bobbin to pull down on the quills, and then a couple locks. You can adjust, you can restart as you're doing all this stuff. Even the scissors, whoopsie, I almost forgot there. You gotta hold the wings in place while you do any cutting or further tying, because the torque of the thread or the movement of the cutting could move them until you fully lock them in. So now I'm starting at the eye and working my way over the butts that I just trimmed to form that head, coming up, covering up all those butts as best you can, and trying to make a nice head. Some people like super small heads, compact heads. That's up to you. I like a head, and so I'm working on cleaning up that area and making a nice shaped head to the fly, and just doing a little flattening of the thread. This is Uni, I believe it's 8/0 black, so pretty thin stuff. Just flattening it to try and get that head smooth. Once you put, I use Sally Hansen Hard as Nails. Once you put that lacquer on, I don't know that it really matters that it's smooth underneath, but that's the way I do it. So I'm continuing to flatten it. You can do a whip finish back to front, probably 6 turn I usually try and do, but again, you're lacquering it, so you don't have to go too crazy probably with the whip finish, but just to do a nice flat covering, whip finish, pull that tight. Got to go in there and clip it. Actually, I cut the thread off to kind of keep that tag at minimum with the side of my scissors, and that's the tying of this fly. You can tie these flies down small. I'm really enjoying fishing these winged wet flies and having some fun with them. At a size 6 like this, you could fish it in all the standard wet fly ways, but it's also kind of like almost like a super tiny streamer. You can strip it and fish it in all the ways you would a streamer. And sometimes the takes are pretty vicious. It's a lot of fun. So I'm putting Sally Hansen on the head. To get a nice glossy head, you got to do multiple coats, at least 2. You'll have to see how it sinks in, sometimes 3. And you want to at least have 10 minutes between the coats to make sure the first one's fully dry. And that's how it looks great, as it's drying right there, but it will sink in. And that's the Ray Bergman. Thanks for watching.